Okay guys, so we're going to start our live video here now for Photoshop, some of the basics introduction here. Okay, so first of all what we're going to do here is go over to Photoshop, and I'm just going to show you some of the basic functionality when it comes to our working environment and some of our basic tools. And to do this, we're going to use an example of the band that you guys created here, entitled Masquerade. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to create a new document. So I'm going to go to File and New. So File, New. The shortcut key for that, guys, is Command or Control N. Okay, of course, Command on a Mac, Control on a Windows machine. And I'm going to set this to, when we open this, actually it comes into the screen here. This is your basic new document screen. Okay, so before I actually click on new document, I'm just going to show you a few items here. So right now, this document is set to pixels. Okay, we wanted to change that to inches. We click down here, and it will give us an inches setting. Now the general size of what we call an A1 piece of paper is 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to change this right here to 8.5 by 11. And to get down to the bottom there, guys, I just tabbed. Started here and tab. Okay, so you can either do it manually or the tab version to move from item to item here. Now another point here is that by default your document will come out to a 72 resolution. Okay, and this is measured in pixels per inch. If we wanted to create something for print, a general size, a general resolution, basically a starting point for anything that we want to print would be 200 dpi. Okay, 72 is okay for, let's say, a digital document. Okay, but anything we print, I always recommend to have at least 200 dpi. So we're going to pretend that we're going to print this off. Okay. Now in this first screen, I'm going to go over a lot of things here, but I'm going to come back on the forum post and our group post and actually post some of the details about this. Okay. Another important point here is the color mode. Okay. There are two major color modes that you guys will use throughout your career as a graphic designer. One of them being RGB. RGB stands for red, green, blue. Okay, and this is for digital purposes. Don't worry about remembering this right now. We will go over this many more times in the future. CMYK color. CMYK stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and the K stands for black. Okay, this is the common color mode for print. So I'm going to set it to CMYK. And you can set your background contents. Right now it's transparent, meaning that it doesn't have a background. I'm going to set that for white, and don't worry about these options right now. And then I'm going to click Create. And now we have our new document, 8.5 by 11, CMYK, 200 PPI or DPI. Okay, PPI stands for pixels per inch. I'm just going to go back on the group here and make a few notes here, guys. Hopefully you guys are getting this video okay. If you guys are seeing this video okay, and I see 3 live here right now, just click write a quick comment there and say looks good or okay. Okay, I'm just going to write a comment here now. So RGB, red, green, blue, used for digital media. Okay. CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, used for print media. Okay, just make those few notes here for now. A shortcut, new document, Control Command plus N. And there will be many more shortcut key commands that you guys will learn as you go along. Okay. Great, guys. Put some likes on this. Like, good, good, good. Okay. Okay, so back to Photoshop here. So we have our document ready to go here. Before I actually design anything, I'm just going to show you some of the basics here. Okay. So as you can see, your toolbar here should be on the left side of your screen. Okay. By default, it might not be there. If it's not, you can always go up to this tab here, Windows, and these will show you all your current palettes that you have open. Right now, I have color open because there's a check mark there. Layers open, again check mark, and options and tools. So if I click on those tools here, notice that my toolbar disappears. If I go back to Window, click on Tools again, notice that it shows up again. Okay. So that's how we affect and decide on whether our toolbar is there or not. Same with these palettes. The color palette, for instance. Click here, click off color, and it disappears. Okay. If I go back to Window again, click on color again, and lo and behold, it is there again. Okay. One important point here as well, before I get into tools, is that anything that we create here will show up on this layers palette. Okay. Like for example, now if I click on the text tool, which is right here, and guys, don't worry about learning any of this right away. This is kind of a broad overview of many items that we would use in creating a poster. Okay. So this is more of just an introduction, and of course chapters and other demonstrations will show you specifics of how we would use these tools. But I'm just going to click on the text tool here for now. Click here, and let's type some text. Let's see. Start off with the title, Masquerade. And I'm just going to make that bigger. I do that by highlighting it first. Then you'll see there are a whole bunch of text options up here. The font, the style of font, and the size. Okay. So I'm going to make this a 48. And notice now, I'm going to hit my Move tool just to what we call initiate that layer, meaning that we're finished with that layer for now. Notice that we have a T layer over here now. It added a layer, and it says Masquerade. If I click the Type tool again, click down away from this, because I don't want to highlight this again. Click away from it a little ways, and hit it again. Notice there's another layer that shows up here. Okay, so this keeps track of all the different items really that you create and add to your Photoshop document. Okay, so I'm just going to delete that for now. So right click and delete layer. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do here is show you the Move tool. Okay, this is probably the most popular tool that you'll use in Photoshop. Okay, now I'm clicked on this layer Masquerade, and I'm clicked on the Move tool. Now what I can do is click and drag and just move it around the screen. Okay, if I had an image in here, I could do the same thing. I can click and drag it as long as I'm on the right layer and move it around the screen. Right now, as you can see, there's nothing highlighted, there's nothing else to move. This layer is locked, this background layer, and that happens by default. Your background layer will always be locked by default. Okay. So next thing I'm going to do here is actually find an image. Okay, let's start our actual design. Again, so many tools in Photoshop. You will learn about all of these, and we'll use some here today as well. So first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to a new tab here, and I'm going to type in Pixabay. Now guys, I'll make a note here, Pixabay.com. Pixabay.com is a great tool and a great resource for finding free images, which is going to be very important in your graphic design career. Not having to pay for images is a luxury. Okay, I won't say it's a luxury. It's kind of common knowledge actually that you don't want to have to pay for graphics if you don't have to. That's just extra cost, and many times a client won't. Chances are they won't pay um, for such an item as actually buying graphics. Okay, Pixabay.com. That's where you can download for free very high quality images. Okay, you'll actually also have options for different resolutions for that graphic. Maybe 1080 by 576, 1920 by 1080, etc. And you'll see that here because we're going to find an image. So the first thing I'm going to do here, I'm on Pixabay.com right now, is type up a mask and see if I can find a good strong image of a mask. And I'm trying to look for something that's transparent. Okay. One of the most popular formats for a transparent image is a PNG. Okay. Let's see here. Now I should have actually asked Evan for his picture of his mask that he had from one of his designs previous, which was a really high quality image. Let's see here. I've got an idea for the Masquerade logo here, but I'm not sure I'm going to find the right mask image. Could create it as well, but I want to keep this inside Photoshop. Creating something really crisp as a freeform graphic would be better suited to Illustrator. Now that would be a really cool mask, but that wouldn't relate to the whole COVID theme. This one could be used, maybe. Just going to take a look here for a minute here, guys. So try mask side. Let's see. So I don't want to spend too much time looking for a mask, so I'm just going to grab that Masquerade mask that I had there. Or maybe this one. I'll make this one work somehow. So as you can see, once you click on one of the images, you can click here for free download. And once you do that, it will give you options of what you would like, okay? Now, what I'll say is that the largest image that you can get completely free would be 1920 by 960. If you decide that you want the 3000 by 1500 or a different various larger size, it will ask you to sign up for an account, which is not a large deal, but I just find it quicker just to download the 1920 by 960. But that is the option if you decide you do need a larger graphic. So I'm just going to go free the download button right here, and it will ask me if you're a robot. I'm not a robot. Click that, and it might ask me to, nope. Sometimes it will ask you to, pick out fire hydrants, pick out animals, etc. That's the reCAPTCHA code that comes commonly with verification on online. And we'll download there, and you can see that it's downloaded. It's probably into my downloads folder. I'm just going to open that graphic up here now. So another shortcut key, Command O. Okay, Control or Command O. So Control / Command plus O. Open. Okay. And one thing I noticed that I didn't put there is that I did not put that this was, actually that's fine. That's fine the way it is there. It's just the opposite down here. Yeah, slate equals open. So we'll go back to Photoshop here. And I'm going to find that graphic. Excuse me. Here it is right there in my downloads folder. And let's open it up. And this is already a PNG. So what I'm going to do is just click and drag this into my document. Okay. Now this is my new document that I already have. Don't have it saved yet, but I do suggest always saving your document early on in your production. Okay. So I'm just going to come back over to my graphic here, click it and drag it and hover over the title of your other graphic. Okay, your main graphic. I'll say your main document. And there's the graphic there. Now I'm not overly fond of this graphic because I see that it has a drop shadow. So that might be workable, but generally a drop shadow is something that's hard to take off a graphic, to be honest. You can do it, but it would require quite a bit of work. But we'll tackle that at another day. So let's see, do I want to use this graphic? Now I'm going to place this graphic underneath the title we already have. Okay, notice that it's underneath the word masquerade right now. If I drag it up, notice it's over the word. Okay, so the layers that you have inside your layers palette also act as a layer stack, meaning that if one layer is on top of the other, it will cover up whatever is underneath it. Okay. Yeah, I really don't like that graphic. I'm just going to find a different graphic here, guys. Cannot go with that one. Won't work for this purpose. You'll do that too. There'll be quite a bit of trial and error whenever you're deciding on whether a graphic is right or not. And that's a good practice. You always want to critique what you're doing and critique your own work. That's how we become good, great, amazing designers, by actually not just accepting something as right, challenging yourself to question yourself on, okay, is this graphic, does this graphic really look as good as it needs to create an amazing design for myself? Okay, those are questions that you'll always want to ask yourself. Self-critique, especially in the design industry, very important. Okay, so back to our mask search here. Searching for the masked man. And it can't just be any mask. But you know what? I think this one's going to work because I can easily get rid of what's in the middle here. I think that's my mask. I'm definitely going to bring this mask to the masquerade. Ha ha. Okay, so free download. Now this one looks like, let's see if it lets me download this one without actually signing up. No, it won't. But you know what? I think this one will be fine. Should still be reasonably high quality. And it's downloaded. Back to Photoshop and this graphic right here. And same thing now, using my move tool, I'm going to click and drag it into my main document. There we go. Like I said, I think this, as you can see, much more crisp. This is going to work well. One thing I'm going to do though is that I'm actually going to get rid of what's in the middle here. Okay, so this is a good opportunity to show you how to use the clone stamp tool. I'll tell you what, you guys will be going over that in chapter 3. So I think what we'll do is I will use it, but don't worry about learning it right now. It will be in the next chapter. Okay. So in regards to the clone stamp tool, if I click and hold here, there's 2 options underneath this series: clone stamp and pattern stamp tool. We're looking for the clone stamp tool. What I do in this example is that I'd actually select a pattern, portion of this pattern, the black pattern, and replace it over the red area and the crossed out sign that we want to get rid of. Okay, so to do that, I'd hover over the black area, which is the pattern we want, the clone that we want, hold down Alt, click, and then click over the area. Okay, now notice that I could probably do this with a larger size brush. Okay, notice this little circle. This is the circumference of what I can actually replicate. So to change that, I'm going to right click, and I can increase the size via this slider right here. At that size, it'll be about there. I can make it a little bit larger. Let's say about right there. That's fine for me. Press enter, and now you've changed your brush size. Okay, so again, when I hold down Alt, click my pattern, release, and just click over that area. Now usually, guys, I click anywhere between 4 and 8 times really for pattern replication. If you start clicking too much, it starts to pick up things from around your design that you don't really need. Okay, so I'm going to hold down Alt again, click here. And this is an easy example to show you guys because most of this background is completely black. It's not different shades of black. It's not gray. It doesn't have gradients in it. It's just what we would call a static black. Hold down Alt here. Click, click, click. Hold down Alt, release, click, 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 etc. Okay. Now with this much gone, I can make this brush even bigger. Let's go about this size. That way it won't take as long because, of course, being efficient is an important aspect of being a strong designer. As you can see, I can get rid of a lot more area a lot quicker. And before I finish all of this, I'm just going to click right here. And let's pretend that this little bit of white area right here, which you see gets covered up when I cover that, let's pretend that I can't quite see if I've gotten rid of all that white area, even though I can see that I have gotten rid of it, or I still have some left of me. If I needed to be specific on where I'm cropping here, an important point of modifying graphics is to zoom in Photoshop. Shortcut, Control Command plus, like so, or minus. Holding down Control the whole time. Okay, Control plus or minus. Okay, and your minus and plus keys are up close to your 9 and 0 digits. And I'll put this little note here. And before I do that, I'm just going to save this. And while I'm saving this, I'll show you guys that I do have a folder already created for my design work for this design. Masquerade _ intro demo makes sense to what it is, and now I'm going to save it. Always a good idea to create a folder for each project that you work on in our classroom. Okay, it will actually be mandatory eventually here. Okay, so Masquerade _ 200. Why did I call it Masquerade _ 200? Masquerade describes the design. 200 is a reference to the DPI, which is also a reference to the fact that it is for print, not for digital purposes. Okay, so by putting 200 here, I just summed up about 2 to 3 messages. One being that it's CMYK because it's for print, because if it was digital I would have it at 72 DPI. Okay, and the other being that let's see, one would be that it's print, the other one would be that it's CMYK, and we know the purpose generally of this design. Okay, if it was maybe for a Facebook post, maybe I'd put Masquerade _ 72. That would let me know that it's for digital purposes. Okay, let's save that. Click OK. And I was going to put a note in the Facebook group here, guys. Okay, so our next note here, let's see. Control / Command plus minus. Oh. It says zoom in slash out. Okay. Let's add a D right there. Now I purposely space these apart from each other because I don't want it to be confused with the command plus O. This is not command plus minus, this is command plus or minus. Okay, so the plus or minus keys create the zoom in or zoom out with, of course, control or command simultaneously. And press enter on that. Back to Photoshop here. So I'm going to finish getting rid of this area here. I'll click. We have a smiley face there, which for a different design I might actually leave that there. That was totally by accident, this little smiley face. But you know what, it might not be smiley face times with the whole idea of what we're saying here. So we'll call this cropped, and I believe I had most of it. If I want to make sure, zoom in, control plus, control minus. I see a little speck there. See a little speck in the middle here? You might not be able to see it, but I did pick it up. Perfect. We have a nice crisp graphic of a mask, and I'll be able to use this for many purposes. Let's see here. So I'm just kind of thinking out loud here right now on what we can do. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to change this text color now to white. Notice right now by default your text is going to be black, okay? But if you click in this color picker right up here, okay, once you know, and your text needs to be highlighted as well, you can click any color here, yellow, purple. This slider going up and down will get you closer to the color palette you need. Then you can be more specific inside this square of colors that it creates. Okay, each particular color in here has a different color code. Watch the color codes down here. Okay, all the numbers down here when I hit different areas of the screen. Notice they are all different color codes. Okay, you have your RGB for digital purposes, you have your CMYK for print purposes, and there are other color codes up here that you won't use as commonly. Okay, so our text is going to be white. I'm going to click OK. The text has disappeared. Why? You can kind of barely see it, but why doesn't it show up? Mainly because this is a contrast issue. Okay, if you have your color and your background the same exact color, white, black, etc., it won't show up because you need the contrast in color for something to be visible. Okay, now you might ask, well, what's the reason? Why is the reason I did that? What is the reason I did that? Well, I did it so that I can actually place it on top of this mask. Okay, masquerade. Now I kind of do like this idea of having this logo like this, but one thing that I notice is that it won't actually take up enough of the mask. Our mask is going to be way bigger than our text, which is not a great thing. So I'm going to move this down, and I'm going to see if I can actually make this bigger and make half of the letters maybe a different color. We'll see. So I'm going to increase the font size. It's currently 48. Put it at 72. I'm going to make the M black. Other two letters. Oh, only got one of those letters. Of course, I'm highlighting something I can't see, but I know it's there, of course. As you can see, that doesn't quite work, right? Either way, one of our letters is going to be cut off. Now, of course, there are advanced ways that we can make that match perfectly. If we place it up here, it works a little bit better. And I actually don't mind that. Let's try a different font. I'm going to go for a thicker font. Okay, this is kind of a this font kind of has a medium thickness. Let's go with a different font style here. Now, before I actually do that, I'm going to bring it up here, and I'm going to make it all one color again, just so you can see what the different fonts look like. Okay. So right now, this font is called Myriad Pro. A great font. You know, many different uses for that font for different types of media. There's ampersand here. As you can see in the background here, you can see it change as I design it. Now I'm looking for something kind of alternative, maybe a little bit grungy. So this Asphalt, this is a great font for our particular purpose. Notice that this word is quite long here, and it actually goes off the screen. So what I'm going to do here is I can actually make this text more compact. Okay, a couple different ways I can do this. I can make the font size smaller, which I think I'll do regardless. But another item that I can do here is I can actually open up the character palette. Okay, Window, Character, and what I'm going to do here, and I'll just give it a chance to open. It's going a little bit slow here. Let's try that again. There we go. What I'm going to do here is, while the text is highlighted, I'm actually going to compress it. Okay, this option here will compress it vertically. 80. Let's just see how it looks. Excuse me. That works a little bit better. Now at the same time, notice that it still doesn't quite blend with our graphic yet. Okay, it's straight across. Our graphic kind of has a curve to it, right? So I'll quickly show you an option that will go into more detail in another demonstration, more advanced detail, and that is the warp tool. So I'm going to use this tool right here, and I'm just going to add an arc to this text. Now, I don't think that's going to quite be my solution yet. It fits there decent. It's not quite the exact angle that we need it at yet. So let's try that again. Place here. I'm just going to check the time on the video here, guys. I try not to make these videos too long. 33. Okay, we can go another 10 minutes without pausing this. So Masquerade. So this font now blends a little bit better with the actual mask itself. Now it's taking up quite a bit of the document. So what I'm going to do, go back to the layers palette, and I'm going to make both of these items smaller together. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is, inside the layers palette, I'm already clicked on our mask, which is layer 1. I'm going to hold down Control or Command and click the other layer, and now both layers are highlighted at the same time. So whatever we do to one layer, it will affect the other layer as well. I'm going to hit Control or Command T. Okay, Control or Command T is for transform. Transform. And back to Photoshop here. So I'm going to combine these now and make them smaller together. That way we don't lose the placement on where they are right now. Okay. And we'll make this around 80. And make the height 80 as well. Okay. So this width and this height stand for the percentage of what they are currently. They start off at 100%. If you bring them down to 80 and 80, they are 80% of what they were originally. Okay, this is a way of kind of working with percentages. Kind of gives you a quick way rather than thinking in pixels. Thinking in percentage can sometimes be a quicker way of estimating how large something needs to be. Okay. Whenever you guys are using humans, natural figures, objects, etc., you want to always match your width and your height. Okay, always match your width and your height, and that's called being proportional. So I'm okay with this logo so far. It's not perfect. It could be quite a bit more work here, but I'm okay with it. Doesn't look horrible. Looks, I'll say it looks good. Now let's add some color to this. Let's say that we wanted to add some blues here. Okay, I'm going to add maybe some kind of graphic inside this mask. What do you guys think? What are some ideas for something to go inside that mask? I'll let you look at it again there for a second. What are some ideas to go inside this? This is your guys' band. I want to make sure that we're representing you guys right. So what kind of idea, so maybe some type of silhouette of something can go inside that mask, okay? And let's check this out. What do you think, guys? What are some ideas for something that can go inside that mask? Some type of object that relates to our band. I know there's probably a little bit of a delay here, so I'll just wait here for a few seconds. Any ideas, guys? And I'll just check to make sure I'm not missing a text or a message, possibly. Guitar, yeah, great idea. Yeah, I think guitar is basically spot on for what we're looking for here. Yeah, I like that idea. Okay, so I will put a like on that and go back to Photoshop here. And of course, I can't go back to Photoshop yet. I actually need to find a guitar graphic. So let's go up to our search bar and guitar. Guitar. And this would be perfect. A silhouette, I can do anything I want with this graphic. And it is electric, so alternative, so I think that's the perfect graphic we're looking for here. Free download there. I'm not a robot. And that's twice in a row. It didn't ask me to do any puzzles. Great. Awesome. Download. And back to Photoshop. And now I'm going to go Control O. I'm on a Windows machine. And find our downloaded graphic, guitar. There we go. Click open. And when I clicked open, of course, it opened into a new graphic inside Photoshop. And again, it's a PNG, perfect, easy to work with. Nothing needs to be cropped out. So I'm going to click and drag it inside our original document. Now, I'll probably downsize this a little bit, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to estimate this needs to be 50% smaller, okay? It needs to be half the size it is right now, 50%. Control T or Command T and bring our percentage down to 50. Now watch what happens if I only put it 50 on one side. Can you see how it's kind of unproportional? Always make sure, again guys, that you match these. There we go. Hit the check mark. And now if I place this inside here, of course I'm not going to see it, but I think it's exactly the size it needs to be. I'm going to give this a color of maybe a light blue. The light blue is going to stand for kind of a medical feel, okay? Or maybe I'll put a gradient inside there. We'll see. So color overlay, and I'm going to go with some type of light blue like that. I believe that color will work. place it inside, and let's just kind of play around with the placement a little bit here. I don't mind that. I'm going to add a little bit of a black stroke to this guitar. Guys, what you're seeing me do here too, whenever to add this color, that color overlay, and I didn't explain that. If I double click here, it will bring me into a very popular and very useful tool set, which is called the layer style, also called blending options. Okay, blending options is right there. There are a whole bunch of tools in here that you can use to modify text, graphics, etc. What I'm going to add right now, I'm actually going to add a stroke. Okay, and that will add a thin or thick line, depending on what you choose, around your graphic or item, your text, your graphic, generally any object that you bring into Photoshop. Okay, I'm going to bring the size down here. This will be explained in more detail in a later demonstration. And let's see, I'm actually going to change that color to black, I believe. Now, one thing I see, maybe something like that. Yeah, I kind of like it better there. And I might change, I think I'm not going to have that stroke quite as thick. Let's go with maybe, let's try something different here. I'm going to add a gradient stroke, which adds two different colors. But what you can also do, there's an option there where your stroke actually has two colors in it. Okay. Guys, I don't want to explain too much too soon, but there's definitely a lot of options here. Definitely worth playing around with some of the options inside this panel, which you'll need to. No, I don't like that. Color, stroke back down. I think I might leave the stroke off, but I think I might actually make the color overlay a little bit darker. Let's go with, stay with that right there. And I'm going to take these three letters now and I'm going to make them match that color. So now we have different messages. We have mask, cue, raid. You know, if I was looking at this, I could say, okay, it's definitely a music band. We see the guitar. We see this little item sticking up here, which we shouldn't. So I'm going to move that guitar up a little bit. So we have the guitar. We have a mask. We're saying, okay, this is some kind of musical theme related to COVID right away. We see masquerade there. So I'm actually going to change the message a little bit. Right now we see QUE. We can say, okay, it's a French band. Possibly, right? But look at this. If I change the message just by changing the color of this one letter, change it to black. Now we have mask. Well, we have a different spelling, so it's kind of an edgy look to it. Mask, you, raid. So now is this maybe some type of conflict band around COVID-19? Takes on a darker message, doesn't it? Just by changing that one letter. Okay. Mask could still be looked at as French, but we see the mask more so now. You raid. So is this saying, okay, mask, people in masks can raid? Mask, you raid. Okay. Many different messages could be produced just by this one design, right? But like I said, this is only for demonstration purposes, just showing that that messages can be changed and altered very quickly in the line of a design. Okay. And let's save that, and let's see how we're doing for time here. So we have 2:30. So what we'll do, guys, is we'll take a break, and and then we'll come back and I'll do a part two of this demonstration just to finish off the design a little bit, okay? So we'll take a break here now, and that's part one, and thank you.